Hello again, my lovelies, my, creatures of the night, my, co-conspirators in the counterculture movement. Today I wanted to read you another story from Spooky, Pennsylvania by, retold by S.E. Schlosser. And this particular one I want to share with you is called Dark Caithlin. It also takes place in Redding County. Let's see, that's fine. Yeah, here we go. Dark Caithlin. So, I'm gonna read to you now another story from the collection of ghost stories, which are said to be true. Who knows if they're real or not, but, yeah, so this place takes place in Reading, and it is from part 2 of that book, so here it goes. When Philip was still a young man, he fell in love with the beautiful Dark Caithlin, who was the daughter of a high-class colonel who lived in the nearby town. As a poor farmer, Philip knew he did not have a chance of winning the hand of Dark Caithlin. He admired her from afar until his parents' nagging finally forced him to choose a wife from among the other farm folk in the area. See, it's changed so much. It used to be people were kind of like they had to get married. I don't know, it was just expected back then, but now it's like you don't want to commit to one person for the rest of your life. Why? Stupid. I mean, you have enough children and stuff. Philip settled onto a piece of land near his parents' farm with the comely but rather plump Minerva, and life went on much as usual. Philip missed his Dark Caithlin, but his wife was a good cook and had a mild manner, and he found himself spending more time at home with Minerva and less time in town, pinning for the colonel's daughter. Then one day, Minerva caught her husband staring at the fair Dark Caithlin as she walked past their wagon, and heard his soft sigh of longing. At once, a terrible jealous rage tore through Minerva. From that moment, she began to ridicule and mock the colonel's daughter whenever Caithlin's name was mentioned, and she kept track of her husband in such a distrustful, nagging manner that Philip's life became a sheer misery to him. See, Philip's thoughts turned more and more frequently to beautiful Dark Caithlin. He began going to town each day in the hope of seeing his beloved as she went about her daily tasks. Sometimes he spoke to her, and he treasured the memory of her words long after they parted, replaying them again and again in his mind. When he was not lurking in the town, Philip went outdoor hunting with his 2 prize-winning hounds. He went out deer hunting with his 2 prisoners. He spent most of his time away from home, neglecting all but the most necessary of his farm tasks, and avoiding contact with his wife. Whenever he did return to his house, Minerva nagged him and complained so much that he quickly found another excuse to leave. One evening, after a good day of hunting, Philip and his 2 dogs bunked down for the night in the hunting lodge he had built on the side of the mountain. He dressed and hung the stags he had killed, fed himself and his hounds, then settled down in his bunk to sleep. Suddenly, the door creaked open, and a beautiful large heath hen picked its way over to the fire and sat down beside it. Philip's hound stirred and looked at the bird, but they decided it was harmless and uninteresting, so they went back to sleep. As Philip lazily watched the creature fluffing its feathers before the fire, the bird began to swell. Philip drew in a startled breath as the heath hen grew larger and larger. In a few minutes it had reached the size of a human being, and its form soon settled into that of an old woman wearing a brown cloak and a peaked hat with a wide brim. It was a hex, a female witch. The hex stalked over to Philip's bunk and towered above him. Her movements wakened the hounds. They leaped up and growled at the stranger, threatening their master. So, here's the picture, and I don't know, back then, maybe there were really people who could shapeshift, or I don't know, it seems a bit far-fetched, but shape-shifting it is kind of talked about among, it's a thing among Wiccan or just pagan followers. Like Native Americans talked about shape-shifting a lot. Call up your dogs, the hex said to Philip, for I mean you no harm. Her voice was strangely soft and young for such an ugly old hex. Philip was confused but suspicious. I cannot make them mind, he lied to the old woman. She plucked a strand of her wiry gray hair and handed it to him. Tie them with this magic hair, and they will mind you, she said. Her voice was low and alluring, and for a moment Philip thought he glimpsed a much younger face underneath the brim of the huge hat, He glanced down at the hair in his hand. It was now long and straight and black as coal, though the hair on the crone's head was curling gray. Philip pretended to tie up his dogs with the magic hair, but he really used a flimsy piece of twine from his pocket instead. He silently signaled his well-trained dogs to mind him and sit still. When she was sure the dogs were controlled, the hex reached down into the bunk and took Philip by the shoulders. Tying your dogs up with a hair, have you ever tried to, rip out one of your hairs and then tie it? It's a hard thing to tie, especially when it's that thin. Like, I've spent a lot of time trying to tie hairs. It's not easy. But it's a good way to practice your, fine motor skills, I guess. So is origami and, origami, I guess drawing's a good one. I guess building a house of cards, if you can do that. Origami, I don't know, I can't think of any others. But I'm sure there are good ways to practice fine motor skills. Like Legos is a good one. I used to do a lot with Legos. So back to the story. The hex reached down into the bunk and took Philip by the shoulders. Her darkened visage drew close to him as if she were going to kiss him, or rip his face off. Her dark eyes glimmered down at him. glowing with tiny sparks as if the stars of heaven were in their depths. Philip was entranced, and terrified. He could not be sure what her intentions were, and he could not make out whether she was truly an old crone come to kill him or a young woman in disguise. He signaled to his dogs, and immediately they snapped the flimsy piece of twine and sprang upon the stranger, snarling and ripping at her legs and body. The hex gave a shriek of pain and fear. She sprang away from the bunk, and the dogs chased her outside. Philip heard her beating at them the stick as they attacked her again and again. With a final shriek of agony and loss, the hex escaped from the dogs and disappeared into the night, shaken by his narrow escape. Philip hurried home with his dogs. As soon as it was light, he was met at the door by Minerva, who was glowing with triumph. Dark Caithlin, she informed him, was gravely ill and feared to be dying. She was on her way to minister to the sick girl, as was her Christian duty, and she insisted that her wayward husband join her, hoping that the sight of the dying Dark Caithlin would wound him as deeply as he had wounded his lawfully wedded wife with his sighs for the colonel's daughter. When they reached the colonel's home, they found the doors barred to them. But Minerva was determined and soon overrode the protests of the servants. She bore her husband into the house and up the stairs to the bedroom of the dying Dark Caithlin. The beautiful black-haired girl lay upon her face, her body writhing in agony. When he saw his love in such a state, Philip moaned and rushed to her side. Dark Caithlin turned her head and gazed up at him with fathomless deep eyes that glimmered with tiny sparks as if the stars of heaven were in their depths. Philip recognized her eyes immediately and groaned aloud as he realized that it was she who had come to him in the night, disguised first as a heath hen and then as a crone. He threw back the blankets that covered her and saw the terrible wounds that his dogs had inflicted upon her flesh. Minerva, seeing the look that passed between her husband and the beautiful dying Dark Caithlin, was overcome with jealous rage. Drawing a knife from her waistband, she thrust it into the back of the lovely hex, killing her instantly. Philip gave a shout of rage and turned upon his wife, who fled immediately. Philip followed one step, two, then paused and turned back to gather the body of his beloved Dark Caithlin in his arms, for the first and last time. Mad with grief and sorrow, Philip left his wife for the army, where he tried to numb his pain with endless work. But he could not shake off the memory of the Dark Caithlin, who had silently returned his love and whose death he had caused in his ignorance. Finally, he deserted the army and went deep into the woods where the girl lay buried, taking with him the sacred books used by the power doctors. For many nights, Philip tried to raise the spirit of Dark Caithlin, but she would not return. 2 months following the death of his beloved, Philip hanged himself from a large tree that grew near her grave. That night, a great storm raged over the town and forest, and the wind swirled around and around the body of Philip. The branches of the tree were tossed back and forth as if they were beautiful strands of long black hair. The howling wind seemed to have the echo of an alluring woman's voice within its depths. After the storm, when the townsfolk came to cut the poor farmer down from the tree, they found a smile of pure happiness upon his dead face. Philip and his dark Caithlin were together at last. Well, I don't know about that story. I guess it wasn't really that scary, but I don't know, maybe back then there were really hexes and, old crones or, people disguised as, shapeshifters. Do you believe in that? Or let me know in the comments what you think. Hope you enjoyed. Again, I was reading Spooky Pennsylvania retold by S.E. Slaughter. Love you, stay creative, keep up the vegan, and pay attention to what you put into your body. That doesn't just go for food. That's I guess the technology, fluorescent lighting, the kind of comforters or sheets you use, TV. Pay attention to what you consume, and buy YouTube.